Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Karen Dolva, one of the founders and the CEO at No Isolation. We're a Norwegian tech company, and we started 3 years ago, so still quite young. But as our name quite clearly states, we are here to fight social isolation and loneliness, and we're doing that by developing what we call warm technology. So first to the basics. It's quite easy to define loneliness, but it's slightly harder to understand what it does to a person. When you feel like you don't have anyone to rely on in your day-to-day life, or if you feel like you don't have anyone to share the happy things with, your body goes into a stress mode, much like the one you experience when you go on stage. That stress mode over time is very dangerous for you. So whether or not you want it, if you live in loneliness over long periods, you increase your risk of having a stroke with up to 32%. You also increase the risk of having heart failure with 29%. And then comes the early dementia and all the other troubles, meaning that feeling lonely is comparable to or even worse of a social issue than smoking. So in Davos a couple of weeks ago, the World Economic Forum defined loneliness as one of the top 10 threats to our society. Because it affects our general health, it is very expensive. So, where does technology fit into all of this? Ever since the launch of the stationary telephone, tech has been bringing us closer together. And I think the blurry missions of many tech companies today has made it difficult for us as a general population to see how wonderful technology has been and is and will be for us. But also, as technology has been moving forward at warp speed 8, quite a few groups have been left behind. We are developing more and more tech to make efficient people more effective, and we're also making technology simply because it's cool. And as was mentioned earlier today, I think we're seeing a shift towards tech actually meaning something and being built to solve issues. So there is, of course, a huge potential economic upside to making communication and care and all of the other sectors more efficient. But I firmly believe that we can also make the spread of joy and happiness more efficient as well through technology. And I think it will play a crucial role in making us more content as we move forward, even if some of the technical solutions out there today might have proved the contrary. And to give you our example, because that is what I have to talk about the kids that we are currently working with. Today, there are 500,000 children in the European Union and in Europe that are suffering from long-term illnesses that are keeping them away from school for more than 2 months at a time. And they're suffering from a number of diagnoses like cancer, chronic fatigue, severe asthma, allergy, severe injury, you name it. They all have one thing in common. If you get a diagnosis like this, you are forced to leave your everyday life behind and move into a new atmosphere. And for these kids, or for most kids, it's cool missing out on school for a week or two, but at the end of the day, school is fundamentally the most important social arena for a child. And research here is crystal clear. Absence from school due to long-term illness leads to reduced emotional and social stability. It creates a gap in knowledge and skill level. And most importantly, the longer a child is away from school due to illness, the bigger the risk of them dropping out completely becomes. And here we have alternatives like homeschooling, sending teachers to these kids. It's an extremely expensive alternative, and it's a logistical nightmare, and it doesn't really provide the social arena that the kids get in school. Dropouts are even more expensive than homeschooling, as most schools get their funding based on how many pupils they graduate. So No Isolation set out to fix the entire problem, and here you can meet AV1. Very white on white, easier to see there. It is the world's first telepresence robot, specifically designed and made for kids. And I think it's important to understand that it is an avatar. when a child is lying in a hospital bed or in their home bed, AV1 is at school, and the child has an iPad or a smartphone or an Android tablet, and they control the robot remotely. Through the robot, they can see everything, talk to everyone, and be a part of the classroom environment. And now you are all adults, so I guess you thought the same as us, that there should be a screen on this robot displaying the child's face. We thought so too, but during the research and test phase, it became quite obvious that we are really working with severely ill kids, most of them using our solution whilst lying in bed in their pajamas, undergoing treatment. They're sick. They don't want to be displayed to their classmates. And we ended up working for quite a long time trying to design this character that could represent everything from a 5-year-old boy to a 19-year-old girl and everything in between. Hence the boring name AV1. We want the kids to name it themselves. It's very sleek, so they can put stickers on and draw on it and make it their own. It's just like an avatar in a game, a character that you make your own and send out in the world that you cannot go yourself. You control it. So AV1 gives these kids real-time access to their everyday lives. And just to ensure you that this is not a future fairy tale and an innovation that we haven't realized, there's currently almost 1,000 active robots across 13 European countries, with kids using them on the other end, but we still have 499,000 kids to go. So we have a bit of work in front of us. And before I move properly on, I wanted to show you a video of how AV1 can be used also outside of school. So the video, excuse the English with no texts, the video is of a 14-year-old major football fan. His team is Everton, but he has been unable to go to a match for many, many years, and we made it happen. So
Jack's a blue, so that this is his dream.
Tonight we have a first. It's the first ever virtual match day mascot. If you look, that is Jack, 14-year-old Jack inside there, who will be controlling the mascot from home tonight.
AV1 is a telepresence robot. It works like an avatar. So a child that is severely ill and has to stay in bed can control their robot from home and see everything, talk to their friends.
Hello!
Oh, I mean, Phil Jaggs, when he come and he took him and he put him under his arm, and we heard him saying, you know, let's go, Jack, come on, and then he was showing him to all the crowd and introducing him to all the other players, all the other mascots. It was just, I did get a bit choked up because it was just amazing.
And that is the virtual mascot experience that 14-year-old Jack McLinden will be now seeing at his home in Walton. It's a new technique, and I believe it will really catch on.
Sorry. So that was, of course, a huge event for Jack, but for the 1,000+ kids that we've helped over the past 2 years, it is mostly everyday life and after-school life that is the most crucial part. And inside this little one, and all of them, there's a SIM card allowing it to stream from anywhere. And the reason I'm invited here today, I guess, is because that SIM card is provided by Vodafone, making this an IoT solution that is truly connecting for good. And I'm a part of the vision bit, and I was asked to touch upon what we're all wondering: how do you scale an impact company, a warm tech company? And I don't think you can hope to scale anything really without doing sales. And as I mentioned, we're selling AV1 primarily to schools, but also to insurance companies and in other areas like charities. And luckily for us and any other impact company coming after us, you sell it like absolutely anything else. You have a value proposition and you have arguments to defend why this is the best solution for them. And to explain how it all is put together, the soft arguments that we use to schools is that this is a way for the school to provide access for their severely ill pupil to the education and to the other students. The more hardcore arguments would be that we are actually letting them save money on homeschooling. We're also quite drastically increasing the risk of these kids getting back to school, and we're making that shorter time period. That's the same argument you use towards the insurance company, because happiness is measurable and it matters. And if you do like we've done and take the time to actually measure how these kids fare with and without the robot, you can get happiness in solid euros and coins. And yeah, I won't get into the details of it, but we've been working with Research Institute all along. Currently, there's 5 universities looking into AV1 separately, Oxford being one of them, and the University of Marseille. So it's quite amazing what the academia side can help with as well. Before I say goodbye, very quickly, does that work? Nice. I wanted to touch upon this. I'm going to spend 10 seconds on it. This is our second product. We are No Isolation, so we're going to be working over time with any and every group that we can find where some technology might help someone out of social isolation. And what comes to mind first for most people are the seniors. So we've built this computer for them that lets them stay in touch with their families. We call it Karp, which is a Google optimized way of saying compassionate computer enabling companionship. And if you want to hear more about this or the company or AV1, then please reach out to me. That's my email address. I'm happy to gain any questions, any help, any suggestions. And as Germany is one of the crucial parts of our strategy moving forward, I would greatly appreciate any input. And that was all. Thank you very much.